Right, well, good evening everyone. I hope you are out there, and we're going to do something interesting again this session. Just bear with me a moment. I didn't want to leave you all hanging, but I'm just looking for some files. Just my luck that I've actually lost the SketchUp files that I would normally use for this, and I haven't got a bloody clue where I've put them. And of course I've got cameras and stuff in the road on my screen, so I can't see anything on my screen because I've got stands and stuff in the road. So just bear with me, folks. I'll put my slideshow on to amuse you for a moment or two. What we're going to do tonight is we are going to cover SketchUp, or some more SketchUp anyway. We're going to continue on from what I did last month, and I'm basically going to show you some techniques to help you build your buildings and such like. I can't find the actual files that I was going to use, so basically we'll just start with a blank canvas. It's the easiest way. I'm sure there's lots of you have been converting your digital mapping to SketchUp stuff, hopefully, and practicing. So basically it's just going to be a question of me showing you around SketchUp and showing you some of the slightly more advanced techniques rather than the whirlwind tour that we did last month. As you can see from the slideshow behind me, our collection of pictures and images that have been donated to us by members of the public and people who worked at the company and other people who just go and find them on the internet and place them in the group, is growing staggeringly by the minute. Myself and Rob were also out last week, and I got some very nice high resolution photographs of the old substation that's buried in the undergrowth at the front of the Grove Industrial Estate. So stay tuned for that, because I'm actually going to use SketchUp, not in this session, but I'm going to use SketchUp to place that building on Google Earth and then use the photographs that I got to do some really high quality texture mapping on it. Right, anyway, enough of me gossiping. Let's switch to the monitor. Now, you'll remember this. I showed you, we saw it last week, Google SketchUp. I've since actually upgraded to SketchUp Pro 2020. I've renewed my license, but since I introduced you to it all using 2017, we'll stick with 2017 for now. Now, if you've just installed it on your own system, it'll look a lot less crowded than mine is. What you need to understand with mine is I've got a lot of plugins installed, and I've got all the extra toolbars and things enabled. Yours probably won't have half of the stuff on, but you can turn it on if you need to. And probably one of the first places you should visit when you first start using SketchUp is the View Toolbars section. That's there we go, View Toolbars section, and the Toolbars tab, and you can see you have all these extra toolbars. Now, you really don't want the Trimble Connect. If you turn that on, it'll just hound you and hound you and hound you to connect to Trimble and get a paid subscription and give the poor starving Trimble people some money because they can't afford to eat, you know. The Universal Importer only works if you have the Pro version. The styles you probably will want to turn on, but not just yet. We'll cover them at another time. Most of these others that I don't have switched on are extension ones. You might want to play with the sandbox, but be aware that you can't do an awful lot with it, because in order to make best use of the sandbox, you need to be able to use this bit up here, the georeferencing and the mapping, because it's for shaping and moulding terrains and things. And without the maps to georeference them, or an underlay, if you like, to georeference the thing, we can add it. But without the maps and that to do it properly and do it the way SketchUp wants to do it, it's a royal pain in the backside. And since our ultimate goal at the moment is to put these models onto Google Earth and nothing else, then we really don't need to be too bothered with it. If you want to play with landscaping and stuff like that, though, the sandbox is the one that you need to turn on. The rest of them are pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to go through them all one by one, but you'll see that some of the toolbars actually have similar groupings of tools on. I'm not entirely sure why I'm being asked to wait. Thank you. You see, like here, for example, it has those tools there, and those tools are also duplicated up here. Well, that's the drawing toolbar, but that's the easy to use first time user toolbar. Yeah, so you will find that some of them are duplicated. Your toolbars can be dragged off and basically put anywhere you want. So you can put them on the bottom, you can put them on either side of the screen. You can reorganize it exactly however you want to reorganize it, you know. As I mentioned last month, mine's a bit cramped simply because I'm squashing it into a resolution that I don't normally use. But if I push my display up to the resolution I do normally use, YouTube will basically go, no shorty, stop it. So we'll just leave mine as crowded as it is for the moment. Now, the tool you will probably start using first will be this, your pencil. And this is for drawing straight lines. That's its purpose. Its only purpose is straight lines. But if you connect straight lines up properly, you will form polygons. So if I take this and I snap a line to my blue axis, remember the blue axis is your up and down, the green is forward and back, and your red is your left and right. If I then do this and snap to my red, then come back along the red here to my origin and back up to there, you'll see that I get a triangle. If I draw a line up the middle of that triangle, I'll split it into two triangles. Every time you draw a line over a surface, you are splitting it into new surfaces. So what we have now here is 3 triangles. Yep. Now, this is quite an important lesson to learn with SketchUp, because it's frequently easier to destroy geometry in order to make something than it is to actually construct geometry. What do I mean by that? Well, this, for example, let's say I wanted to put a triangle shaped window in this shape. I would probably do something like this, and then I'd draw lots of what appear to be random lines across, but in actual fact, because I've then carved it up, I can now take my select tool, grab this piece of geometry here, hit my delete key and delete it. And then, if I use my eraser, I can go back round the remainder of the lines, and you'll see that I now have a one-piece triangle with a weird shaped hole in it. Now, just as adding a line carves it up into a new shape, then, as you just seen, removing a line joins it back into one shape. And you'll quite often find that if you create geometry using your mapping program, as we did in QGIS, you will quite often find that if you haven't made your connections exactly parallel and exactly at 90 degrees, then when you come to do extrudes and things like that, you often will see that SketchUp will put extra lines in so that it can mould the shape of something to fit. Yeah. So it quite often can be a good exercise when you first load a model in and do your first extrude to go around and check your angles and check all these lines and see if you can remove them. And if you can remove them without anything else going amiss, then you know they weren't really needed. But if you remove a line and then part of your geometry disappears, you know that line's actually needed and something's not quite at a right angle or not quite 100% square. If you draw a line through the middle of an opening, such as this one here, it will seal that opening up as best it can. In this case, it can actually put a polygon on both sides. So you can use this to heal shapes. If you do have some broken geometry and you've straightened it up, what you can then do is draw lines across it, and then you can let SketchUp do its thing. Then you can go and remove these lines, and you can see that we quite easily turn it back into a single shape without a problem. Of course, you don't have to build all your polygons and things using that method. If you use your select and drag over everything, delete will clear it all. You've also got this polygon tool here, and you've got a square tool and a rectangle tool. We'll come back to the rotated rectangle in a minute, but rectangle, for example, is exactly as it says on the tin. And you'll see this diagonal line that keeps sort of appearing. That tells me when I've got the ratio, what's called the golden ratio. Yeah, that will actually be a square that's equal on all four sides. You can also force that to happen. I think it's the shift key. No, shift's right, shift is parallel constraint to its neighbour. Is it control then? No, it's not. So it's got to be alt. Okay, I'm not too up on the shortcut keys with this. I really should practice them more, but there's one of them that allows you to lock it to a square so that you only get a square and never anything else. Now, typically if you're going to build the buildings from scratch, you want a floor to start with, so we'll assume that this square I've drawn here is our floor. Again, you can go over this with your pencil. You can divide it up. As I mentioned last month, when you see these blue points, that's the exact middle of the line, and you'll get other colours. Red there, for example, means that it's parallel to the red axis. Green means it's parallel to the green axis, and if I move carefully, there we go, I'm parallel to the blue axis. But you can also get parallel to other axes as well. I don't quite think I'm going to get any here, but you will see a magenta will appear from time to time as well. A magenta means it's parallel either to the line, perpendicular either to the line you're connecting to or the line that you're connecting from, or it is parallel to something that you're using as a reference. For example, this centre line here. You'll get used to seeing them as you work with the application, but for the time being we'll not dwell too much on that. The mid ones do tend to become quite important, because your mid lines, usually if you're doing pitched roofs and things, for example, you're going to want your pitch, and you're going to want it exactly down the centre of the shape you've created. So I suppose your middle ones will be the ones that you'll use the most. Your polygon, dead simple. You click, and wherever your measurement box is, let me just see if I can find mine. It will be here somewhere. There it is. We'll put this down here where we can see it, I think, along with our layer number. If you select your polygon tool, you'll see that you can set the number of sides. So if I do that, and then you can set your radius. Now, what you do need to remember with SketchUp is anytime you're inputting anything, whether it be drawing a line or creating a rectangle or anything like that, you can type those numbers in. And you can also set the defaults. So if we go to Window Model Info, you'll see units. Now architectural's your 1'6" and all that kind of stuff. But if you change them to something like decimal, an M, that's now going to be entirely in meters. So if I, for example, go to draw another line, I can do that, and before I click anything, you'll see that my length is showing 0.52. If I type into there 5M and hit return, that line is now exactly 5 meters long. Right? So that basically means that if you've got a set of measurements and you know those measurements, then you can set this to be exact heights and exact widths and exact sizes that you need. So what we'll do is we'll clear our canvas again, and we'll kill that line there. Now, canvas doesn't have to always look like this. If you use the wheel on your mouse, for starters, you can zoom in and out. This will always be the center of your drawing. This will be your origin. And if you use my little tool to convert your map files to SketchUp files, turn them into buildings, that will be the geo-referenced corner. So if the corner of your object is at -1,52.1234, that is exactly where on Earth that corner will be in QGIS. You can change this origin during construction of buildings, but I really would advise you not to unless you really need to, or unless you need to change it to help with alignment of construction lines, things like that. You'll see that we have some little pictures of houses up here. Those are your default views. That is the one you start with, your ISO one. That is your perspective view. That is your top view, your front view, your right, your left, and your back. Yep. You'll also find that zooming tracks your mouse as you move it around. And if you are really close into a drawing, it can take forever to actually zoom out from it. I don't really know of any faster way, unfortunately. It is sometimes ridiculously easy to get stuck with your coordinates and your zooming, because yeah, it just gets itself so muddled up sometimes, and there isn't really a handy reset either. So what we're going to do, we're just going to start a new session. I don't want to save that one. You're gonna force me, aren't you? No, I don't want to save it. Just start. There we go. We'll get rid of the default dude. Now, as well as being able to show you different views and that, you also have your movement tools here as well. Your pan tool pans you around your scene. Yep. Just select it and drag it. Your orbit tool allows you to orbit round your model. Yep. Now typically what you're going to do most of the time is you're going to have pan on, and you're going to use your left button with that, and then you're going to click your middle button to do the orbiting, and then use your zoom to zoom yourself right out from your I don't know whether it's because it doesn't like the size of the display, or whether it's just being a right royal pain in the backside. But I have to confess, I've never had that problem with the zoom before. That is an altogether new one for me. I don't really know how to rectify that. That really is a puzzling one. So, we'll start again so we can see our skyline. It's going to make a monkey out of me. It's always going to make a monkey out of me. Generally, what I often do to zoom out actually is I look at my top, and then I sort of zoom out like that. But again, that really doesn't seem to be doing much. Let's stick a rectangle in there, shall we? Okay, we'll go and we'll set our model info. We'll go back 4 decimal meters, and we will start. Oh, you're really not playing nice tonight, are you? What is the matter with you? Huh. That is weird. What can I say? Now with something in the scene, it actually works properly. Odd. Okay, well, fair enough. So what we'll do is we will put a rectangle in here, and no, we won't. We'll set our units again because we've actually reset our drawing, haven't we? So we'll put it back to decimal meters now, and we'll try that again. So now we'll make ourselves a floor, and we'll make this 10 meters by 10 meters. 10 meters. There we go. Excellent. Now let's see if we can get rid of Mr. Gadgie here. He is one of the Trimble staff, by the way. All the different versions have different members of the staff. I think the latest one's one of the marketing execs. He was one of the original GPS programmers or something. If you right click on him and go to info, it'll tell you all about him, who he is, and what his contribution to the original project was. Yes, so with our floor on like that, the zoom seems to work properly. So that's something new I've learnt today. I didn't know that. You have to have at least one piece of geometry in for the camera tracking tools and that to work properly. Right. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have already experimented with the push-pull tool, because that was the one you saw me using in the last session. So what we'll do is we'll make this building, I don't know, what's the average height of a house? 8 meters, something like that. So we'll go 8 meters in height. That gives us a nice even figure. Now, as I was saying about midlines and things like that, well, first of all, if we use our middle button and push down, we'll find that we get instant access to our orbit tool. That's the quick way of doing it. So we're on about midlines. So there's the midpoint on that edge, and that goes straight across the midpoint on the other edge. And you know that it's perfectly aligned as well because it's green, which shows that it's aligned with the axis. Now, once we do that, we can then use the move tool. Move tool will move any piece of geometry, but if you click it and then press the up arrow on your keyboard, you'll see it says on blue axis. And what that now means is I cannot move that any way other than up and down. Yep. And as you can see there, I'm moving just that one line. I'm not moving the edge or anything like that. I'm moving just that one line. So 2.5 meters maybe for the roof. Yeah, there we go. And you can see that we've quite quickly created a pretty much average sized house. Now, we are going to want to paint this eventually, and we are going to want to add stuff to it. So unless all of this side wall has to be exactly the same colour, what you're probably going to want to do, especially if you're doing roofs, is to draw a line across both sides. There you go. And with that line, you now have different surfaces that you can paint. Now, a building's not much good without windows in it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take our rectangle tool. Well, actually, no, we're going to start with our construction tool. And the construction tool, the construction line tool, comes in very, very handy when you want things set in exact places. So let's say we want our windows on this side of the building to be 2 meters away from that wall. What we can do is we can click on that point there, then we can move along this line here, and we can use our keyboard input to say 2 meters. You see we get this little point here. And if we do the same with this one here and go 2 meters, you'll see we'll get that there. Now what we can also do is we can drag out from a line, and we can go like that, and we can lock it to those points. And that's a construction line that we've created now. That isn't actually part of the geometry in your building, but what it means is anything that snaps to that line will be perfectly aligned. Now, let's say we want our windows to be, I don't know, 2 meters across. We can drag another line out from that, and then while we still have our finger on the button, the mouse button, we can say 2 meters, press return, and there you go. And we can keep doing things like this with construction lines. We can drag from geometry lines, so we can come down from the top and we can say 2 meters, and then we can go down one more and say 2 meters, and you can start laying things out properly like this. We can go up from the bottom of our building, we can say 2 meters. Yep. Now this is going to look a bit weird. I think that those two windows are going to be somewhat close together, so what we'll do is we'll bring another one down there and we'll say 1 meter, and we'll bring another one up here and we'll say 1 meter, and then the 1 meter from the top and the bottom, or some such thing like that. Sorry, I mixed that up, didn't I? Yep. Now, if you make excessive use of construction lines, very quickly you're going to end up with something that looks like this, and you're not going to know which construction line's which. You can select them one at a time and remove them like this, but it's hard to pinpoint them. On your edit menu, you will find a delete guides option, and if you hit that, that will instantly clear any guides that you have. Okay, so let's go and put the ones back in that we actually wanted. We'll say 1 meter and 1 meter and 1 meter. We'll make our window 2 meters in height, and we'll make this one here 2 meters in height, and then we'll go 2 meters across in width, and then from this side we'll go 1 metre, and then we'll go 2 metres. And you can see straight away now that we have this. And because we can snap to those intersections, we can now quite easily use those guides to join our windows. Now remember what I said earlier about drawing lines on an existing face. Well, when you draw lines on an existing face, that gives you new geometry. So what you have here now is this wall is still one piece, but these are 4 separate squares, and they can be treated as 4 separate entities. Right, now the other thing that your construction thing can do is it can be used to actually measure as well. So if I click there and then across to there, that'll actually tell me. I don't click to finish it, that's the secret. You don't click to finish when you want to know what the measurement is. But you'll see down in the length there, it'll tell me what it is, and it'll give me a little sort of tool tip for a moment as well, if I just take my hand off the mouse. So we know that halfway across there is 2 metres, and if we want our door to be 2 metres in width, then we probably want 1 metre away from each of the windows. So if we do our construction line thing again and drag a construction, sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen. If we select this and drag our construction line along again, and we do 1 metre from there, and we do, we do 1 metre from there, then you can see we've got our spot there for our door. And we can either use our pencil tool or we can use a rectangle to draw it in. Just like that. Now you notice when you're drawing lines, some of them go darker than others. If they go thin, it means they've formed a complete closed polygon. If they go dark, it means that they're just floating, they're not connected to anything. And particularly if you're working with a 3D view such as this, and you're not sure whether you're actually on the face or whether you've moved away from it by a couple of tiny points. You can often see lines that will go dark, but they appear to be connected. If they are thick and dark, they're not connected, they're not on the face, they're not doing what you expect them to do, and you need to go and investigate them. Right now, however, if we go to Edit Delete Guides, you'll see that we now have some windows and some doors on our house. Now, because we can now paint things individually, in your default tray here, you will find that you have things, you'll have textures and stuff. If I select this one, I'll turn into a paint bucket. If I now point at that, and then rotate round, you'll see that we've filled our walls in. And if you recall, like I said, they are now individual pieces of geometry, so they don't get filled in with the brick pattern because they're not part of this. We may also, as I said, want to treat our roof eaves differently. So we could perhaps put some cladding on there. And then if we drop this down, we'll find that we have other stuff as well. One of these here somewhere does have some roofing in. There it is, roofing. So we'll use this and we'll put some tiles on our roof. But we can also go one step further than this, because we should also have glass and mirrors. And glass and mirrors are special textures. They're actually transparent. So if I take this one, for example, and click on each of my windows, assuming I've got the right one, there you go, you can see that you can see through inside your model now. And And if you actually go inside the model and look out, you'll actually be able to see out the windows as well. Now obviously there's a bit more to creating windows than just drawing a rectangle and dropping a glass on. You're going to want to draw frames and all sorts of things like that. And there are plugins to help make that much easier. But that's the very basics of it. Once you've got your window designed and you've got the glass actually divided up, you then just need to pick an appropriate translucent texture for it, and Bob's your uncle. You actually get proper glass, proper see-through glass. And if you use one of the more expensive plugins for ray tracing, such as Renderosity, and you put light sources inside the house, then the light will also shine out through those windows, and you can light buildings up and all sorts of things. The last colour option you'll want when painting your models will be the named colours, or just normal colours. If you select one of these, you'll see that you get a standard sort of rainbow palette going from reds through to purples, you know. And if you hover over one of them, it tells you the actual Pantone colour numbers. Now, for any of those who've done any design work, you'll know that Pantone colour numbers are an industry standard. So if, say, colour A05 there, that's Pantone A05, if I then went into a DIY store and asked them for an A05 red, I would get that exact shade of red. So you can actually set colours on your model to be the actual real world colours as well. Once you have a model, you can reshape it in multitudes of ways. For example, how easy would it be if you could build an extension just by doing this? Use our push-pull tool and go, there you are. We have an extension on our house. And of course you can mould that roof all you want, and you can split it as many different ways as you want. We're actually not going to do that. But if you look through the window, you'll see that you've increased the inside volume of the building. You can see you can actually go into that part. Now, another thing you can do as well, if we go back to our movement toolbar here, we did zoom and panning and all that before, but we also have this one here, which is the walk around tool. And if we click down and move our mouse backwards and forwards, we can actually walk. It behaves as though we were walking around our model. If we use this here to position our camera, and we now have our eye icon on, and we're in walk mode, you'll see that we pretty much can walk around our model. When you're in walk mode, you can use the arrows on your computer keyboard, just like that. Forwards, backwards, left, right. It's much easier to steer your virtual human being. And you'll see here we have an eye height. Now I'm 6'2", which is about 1.8 meters. Take off a couple of inches to set it to the eye height below my forehead. It's about 1.67, something like that. So the view you're seeing here is actually set to my height of about 6'2", something like that. So you can actually set these heights when you're walking around to an average height of the person you want to view it. For example, if you were trying to demonstrate to somebody the size of a company building or something that used to be there, which I would have been able to show you if I could have found my files at the beginning of the session, you could actually take a smaller person and walk them round the model quite easily, just like this. looking in windows and going indoors and things like that. Right, anyway, enough playing in a virtual world. We're here to learn how to build these things. So, that's the basics of buildings. Basically, you use polygons, you use your extruding tool to shape the building, you use your move tool and your lock to the up axes along midlines to do roofs and things, and you use your construction tools to line up windows and doors and other bits of roofs and such like. Now, since our task is going to be building things like the company, there are lots of other things we need to be able to build, not just rectangular buildings. Now, I know Dave Buchan was building some of the mills down at Castleside, and I promised I'd go over a quick way to create chimneys. Well, chimneys are remarkably easy. So let's build ourselves a nice big smokestack here. First thing you're going to want is your circle tool. Again, you can set this, you can set the base to whatever you need it to be. So let's say 5 meters, something like that. It's about right for the base of a chimney. Now we'll use our middle button and orbit to switch back to that type of view, and then we'll just pan it out a little bit so that we can get a lot of space to make this a nice big chimney. We'll use our pull up tool and we'll pull this up to, I don't know, 80 meters, something like that. There we go. Big monstrosity of a chimney. Now, most chimneys are tapered in at the top. Not a huge amount, but normally they're thinner at the top than they are at the bottom. So what we'll do is we'll just zoom in on the top here, and we will use this thing here, which is our scale tool. Now, the scale tool will affect an entire object, or it will affect a face. What I want to do here is just affect the face, because I only want to narrow the top face, not the bottom. If I wanted to scale the entire thing, I would select all the sides and the two ends as well. So we're going to select this, and we're going to use our shift key here so that it locks and moves opposite sides at the same time. If I then click and do this, oh no, hang on, I apologise, I do not think that shift key was the right key. As I said before, I can never remember what the modifier keys are here. Ah, there we go. I think it's the control key. Yep, that's the one. So you'll see if I push that in ever so slightly now, the whole chimney tapers in at one end. Yep. So if we do that and then select away from that, you'll see that we now have a nice long sort of cone shape, which is typical of a chimney, right? Now, chimneys are usually open, so what we're going to do here is we are going to use our offset tool, which is this thing here, and we're going to pick the face, and then we're going to move in by 0.5 of a meter. And then we're going to select this face and remove it. And as you can see there, we now have a chimney. Just like that. So that's an easy way to do chimneys. There are other ways, all depending on how you want to construct your chimney. You may actually want to do the offset before you extrude it. So if we go back to our top, for example, and do another circle and make this 5 meters. And then use our offset tool and bring that in by 0.5 meters, and then delete that, then use our offset tool. What you'll actually find is not only will you get the chimney, we'll make that one 50 meters, not only will you get the chimney, but you will also get an inner wall and an outer wall. Now if you look carefully at the first chimney we did, we don't actually have an inner wall. Yeah? The inside of that is actually the other side of the outside skin. So if I was to go and do this with the first chimney, for example, if I went and I cut a hole in it, like so, and then deleted that, you'll actually see there we are inside the chimney. But more's the point, if we look down the stack, we should actually be able to see the hole down there somewhere. There you go, just there, right at the bottom. Yeah. Now if we did that with this chimney, we wouldn't see that because this is what's called double walled. It has an internal wall and an outside wall. We'd have to cut that hole through both of these. And the quickest way to do that is actually build the shape on the inside and then use the extrude tool to pull it through. But that's by the by. We can still scale the top of this in exactly the same way. We just need to make sure that we have the correct face. We have control selected. And we didn't there, did we? We actually had the edge selected, not the face. So let's try that again. We want the face, not the edge, selected. And it's not going to have it, is it? So what we'll do instead, we'll try and do a multiple selection. No, it's okay. Okay, let's see if we can drag it. The only problem is we don't want that inside face selecting. Oh, that did the job. So what we then do, we'll then use that. That's not going to work because that's selecting the entire outside skin of the chimney. Okay, we're not going to try any harder to do that. You get the general idea. It can be tricky to select things in SketchUp sometimes. There's no quick or easy way to do it. It's practice, basically. To finish off tonight, in the 10 minutes we've got left, I'll show you another way of doing round, complicated shapes. And you're probably going to like this one. This one's real handy for doing things like cooling towers and tanks and stuff like that. And you can see just how easy it is to be careless when you're selecting things in a drawing, because by removing them chimneys I've actually just taken 2 walls out of my building as well. Hopefully though, if I do that, there we go, SketchUp's filled them back in for me, so it's quite easy and they just need to be painted again. No problems there. Yes, so as I was saying, to finish off tonight, I'll show you an interesting way to do complicated round shapes. Now everything round needs a round base, so we'll make this one 10 meters. Now what we'll do is we will draw a 2D representation of our shape. So we'll start with a bottom line, and then we'll go up on the blue axis, and We'll use a construction line to line us up with that there. When you see dotted lines snapping like that, by the way, they are generally construction lines and they're there to help you. They can be a pain sometimes, they can get in the road sometimes, but generally if you go to a destination point that's on the same axis as the one that you're trying to follow, and then very carefully move up above it to where you want to be, you'll find that they can be very, very helpful. In this case, that's actually not been at all helpful, but I digress. Yep, see, you can see, so this is a perfect example of what I was on about before when I was on about thick lines. Yeah, you can see that even though that shape looks as though it's connected, it's actually not, because if you look, none of it's at 90 degrees. But because of the way you were looking at it and the angle you were drawing from, it did look as though it was connected. Now, fortunately, your edit menu has quite a lot of undos. Yeah, if you use Alt and Backspace, you can go back things one at a time. Now, I think what we'll do here is we'll go straight up and we'll make this 15 meters. We'll press escape and we'll start a new line here and we'll go 15 meters, and then we'll just draw them across like that, and hey presto, there you go. One of the other visual indications that you were successful and everything was lined up is the fact that it made a polygon as well. Now let's carve this into some interesting shapes. So let's, I don't know, maybe a cooling tower. So we'll no, that's not quite right, so let's try that again, and we'll go in on that axis there like so. Now what we'll do is we'll take that bit of geometry out. Now remember again at the beginning I said that destroying geometry is sometimes an easier way of constructing geometry. This is another perfect example. It was easier to draw a rectangle and draw a curve in, and then to just grab those bits that you didn't want and delete them. Now that we've set our rotational base up in the shape that we want to rotate, we select our circular base, then we select this tool here, the follow me path. Right? And once we've clicked that, we then click the shape that we want to do the following with. And there we go, voila. We have a rather strange but ugly looking cooling tower. Now, a little bit of patience. This was actually how I did the cooling towers that I've already done for the works model. Well, in a similar manner anyway. What I actually did was, instead of drawing it as a single spline, I did the whole offset thing. This sort of offset thing first, so that it was all double walled inside. You know, and obviously it was a bit taller and a bit narrower than that, but you get the general idea. Anything that you need that's rotational and has a bit of a strange shape to it can be done using the follow me tool. For example, a lot of things on the works model had tanks on them. So when we actually get rid of all of these, there we go. We could go, let's say 5 meters in diameter, and we'll go from the center. We'll go up by 10 meters. and we'll come out to the side, and then from the edge we'll go up by 8 meters, and then what we'll do is we'll use our arc tool. No, not that way. You'll quite often as well get these protractor symbols when you're doing things that rotate around points, and again it's one of those things that try to be helpful and you can't turn them off, but I do find them a bit of a hindrance. It's very difficult to get them. They'll always seem to snap to the face that you don't want them to snap to. You see, right here, I would want that actually to be a red one. No, I want it to be a red one. So it appears that orientation like it does on the face there, but it's not going to. I don't think that's the right angle tool that we actually need, though, to be fair. So let's try that again. There we go. So just sort of, again, you can see it. There's no way of turning a lot of this snapping off sometimes as well. It just does try to snap to everything, and it can be a nuisance, a very big nuisance sometimes. But when you get it right, you do get it right. No, you don't get it right, obviously. Damn you, damn you, damn you, damn you. Let's try you again then. Let's use our upper arrow. Ah, there we go. We'll constrain to the blue axis now. I think, are we? Yes, we are. So we'll do that. There you go. So you can see we've got sort of half our tank. Okay, that bevels down a little bit, and I didn't really want it to. We could probably move that point up and straighten it a little bit, I think. Let's have a look. There we go, that's better. And then we just complete the normal follow me procedure. Select that, select the follow me tool, select that, and there you go. There's our domed tank. So you can see the follow me tool can produce some very, very interesting shapes. Now the last thing that you can use the follow me tool for is for pipe work. If I do this and draw a line, and then I take a circle and try to put it on the end of said line, again, it never seems to snap the way you want it to, so be prepared for some very, very frustrating there we go. That will help. Again, drawing extra geometry can sometimes help. So if I now do this, there we go. No, you're not going to, are you? You don't bloody well want to. You pain in the ass. Right. Let's try that again. No, it can get immensely frustrating trying to get it to snap sometimes. Sometimes what you're going to want to do is actually build your geometry pointing or facing the wrong way, just so that you can get it to snap to the bits that you want to, and then change it to the orientation you want to use it. So in order to make this easy for me to demonstrate what I'm on about, we're going to draw our pipe on the blue axis. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put our circle just on the end of it there, like so. So we'll have a 2-meter pipe. And then what we're going to do is we're going to select the line. Then we're going to use the follow me tool and click on the circle. Now you can see it's followed that. It's actually followed that line there. It does actually look better if you do it somewhat like this. So if I was to say take a curved line, no, that wasn't what I had in mind. This is a much better demonstration of it. Right, so you can see we have our curved pipe there, and we're going to look right at the end there, zoom in on right on the end there, and let's see if we can get a circle on there. Yep, so we're going to make this a 2-meter pipe. No, that's a bit big. We'll make it a 1-meter pipe, I think. But this time what we'll do is we'll use our offset tool and I'll chamfer it in by 0.10 meter, and then we'll take our centre part out just like that. Now that we've got that set up, we will select the line we want to follow. We'll select our follow me tool, and then we'll select our pipe, and there you go. You can see that we have a pipe following that. So if you need to draw pipes running around sections of the steelworks, that's the easy way to produce those. Right, so let's go and have a look at the YouTube page. A link was saying me to last month's vid. Okay, I have no idea why that is, Ian. Dave, even. That'll be a YouTube thing. I did minimise my face. Yes, I realised how big it was. I did realise how big it was. It wasn't till I was actually looking at my camera. In fact, if you look, I think you will see that, oh no, it's the HCS, it's the History of Steelworks concert logo that's actually obscuring me now. I forgot that was down that bottom corner. There we go. See, the thing is, guys, what you've got to remember is I don't look at the YouTube bit. That's usually tucked away in the background. That's usually tucked away in the background, so you know, I don't see that. All I see is my preview on Open Broadcaster. And you can see I've just moved it over to the right hand side there. Hello. Well, that's largely it anyway. I mean, anybody got anything they want to ask me, type it into the live chat now. You know, is there any particular thing that you've been trying to construct using SketchUp that you want to know how to do? No, I'm guessing not then. Well, on that point, folks, I shall bid you all good night, and I will see you over in the Facebook group. Ta-da!